that the inflation of the country actually increased from 8.89% in January to 2026 to 12.12% in February, representing a rise of 3.23%. Now, when we talk about inflation, many things are involved. In fact, the common man on the street does not even understand how all of these things translate, or affect them. These are many more we are going to be looking at, and of course, if possible, we are going to provide advice, really, on how we can go about, surviving, during this period, particularly with, the current inflation rate. We have in the studio with us a chartered accountant and of course a public affairs analyst, Dr. Adekun. So it's a pleasure having you join us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
And I'm not alone. My colleague is also here.
Yeah. Good morning, Nigerians. It's beautiful to be back here this morning. And Doctor, good morning.
Good morning
to the show. Welcome to the show once again. Now let's start let's start by coming down to the layman understanding of what we can say inflation is. As a student, you will definitely must have gone through economics class, and also you have an idea, talk about what inflation is. But to a common man, everything is about the cost of living, cost of food. And so when we talk about inflation, what exactly are we referring to?
Okay, I think thank you very much, and thank you for that question. So I think I will try to break it down in a layman language, like you said, so that it will not become an academic exercise. Because most of the things, when we speak and we communicate, we don't consider people that are very low that might not understand some basic economics. So when you say inflation, it's just like from the word inflate, it means rise. So inflation generally is what is used to measure the general increase or general rise in prices of goods and services. So that's the common and general definition. So however, to a layman, so you need to consider peculiarity of a layman is not a one-cap-fits-all approach. So when you say inflation has increased, for example, I think 2 days ago, the February inflation figure, Nigeria National Bureau of Statistics is 15.06%. January it was 15.10%. So what does that mean? It means you have a very little or marginal decrease. Now, so average layman might see it to mean that prices of goods has come down a little. But is that the reality when you go to market? Those are the conversations. And in doing so, inflation is not as simple as we think. Because that's what we call headline inflation and core inflation. So the inflation figure Nigeria Bureau of Statistics release talk about headline inflation. Headline inflation means overall inflation rate, which include food inflation, energy inflation, and all that. But however, there is what we also call core inflation, which is the inflation that does not include food and energy costs. So in the meantime, so the inflation has a lot of buckets. So if you look at the website of National Bureau of Statistics, they break it down into components. There is inflation in most of sectors, whether you talk of food, you talk of beverages, you talk of transport, you talk of energy, you talk of consumables and all that. So it's the comparison of prices, and it differs. So the price of item in Lagos might not be the price of item in Ogun State. So as we go on, when we proceed about specifics, and how does it affect you? So if you say, as an example, you want me to break it down, okay, I will say, so who am I breaking it down to? Is it someone that lives in a very remote area or village in one part in Ogun State? So I will ask you, what are the basic things that affect you? What do you spend your money on? Because most times when we speak majorly to middle and average class, people that are learned or educated, they work in formal sector and all that. So they might be having issue of price of fuel, but some people don't use, there are some category of people that they don't buy fuel, that apart from maybe transport, they don't have generator, they don't have vehicle, they don't have solar. So we just need to understand that we need to, in breaking it down, we need to do a kind of a scenario analysis, because the inflation figure does not affect everybody the same way. Yes.
So, but would you say that the report or the statistics released by the MBS, is a true reflection of what we are feeling, yes, in the market?
Okay, so the question is, to answer is not a yes or no question. It's a question that requires explanation. Now, Nigeria Bureau of Prices, you will appreciate if you have visited the office or you try to look at their website, you appreciate the level of data and research they gathered before coming out with those figures, and they are factual. However, what I would say is that data is the new oil. Everything you do should be based on data. If you say in God we trust, but in every other woman being, they may ask you for data or evidence. So now, in terms of the Nigeria Bureau of Prices being data driven or database, the answer is yes. But in terms of reality, when you say reality of people's lives, so the issue of location also depends. So I will tell you that we are in Abeokuta, we are in a city. There are some people that live in far remote area and it's still within Ogun State. Our reality in Abeokuta may be different from their own reality. So what I say is that, okay, what are the basic things here? People look at food. There is no alternative. So the cost of food may differ. For example, if you are eating, maybe you have a small farm, you do your pepper, vegetable and all that. You can't compare your cost of feeding to someone that his normal routine is to go to eat at the outside. That's the first point. The second issue is that everybody should start looking at their peculiarities. What can I do so that this inflation should not affect me so much? And there are a couple of things you could do. The first thing is, when you say data is about nation, about economy. You can even look at data of yourself. How much do I earn? What's my income generating capacity? Am I a salary earner? Am I a business? So what do I spend money on? Is it data? Is it just okay? If I'm a tenant, how much do I pay as my rent? So as my rent increased from last month to this month, because obviously our rent culture in Nigeria is annual. We are not in a bad country that pay rent per month. So if you look at those things, you could be able to say, okay, I went to this ABC market yesterday to buy tomatoes. This is the cost and the quantity of the same volume. It has reduced, so it can be interrogated. But what MBS did is to do average for the whole country. So what I will personally recommend is that it's high time we start encouraging our subnational, states, to start having their own data-driven department. They start giving us the available market, how much are they selling. If you go to this market, you get this thing here. I think basic things, food, clothing, housing, shelter and all that. Because the truth is, if you look at the same Nigeria Bureau of Prices, we have more than almost 140 million of our people living in multidimensional poverty. And they define multidimensional poverty as if you are unable to afford food, healthcare and decent accommodation. So those are the things we need to consider.
All right. Were you looking at, I was about asking, when we should look at, possibly there are causes of reasons or things that cause this inflation. But are there specific commodities that, causes or that make this food to rise, maybe imported goods, or how does it work?
Yes, so in fact, we call it drivers of inflation. So I don't want to delve, because I don't intend to make it an academic discourse. I don't want to delve into the details of US, Iran war, how it affects the
No, we will definitely.
Okay, so now when we talk about the drivers, you look at our economy. So we are largely import-dependent economy. So there is this concept of monoproduct of crude oil, our oil. So we have the relationship of NNPC and Dangote refineries. We have seen a situation whereby the government has spent billions, if not trillions, on a refinery that is not working, and there is no accountability, there is no transparency. Nobody has been held to account. So unfortunately, the timing of doing something now is equally as important compared to what you intend to do. So what that means is, if you are supposed to do something last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you do not do it, but you do it now, it is good that you have done it, but it would have been better you have done it 2-3 years ago, so the impact will still be there. So the key here is that we talk of transportation, which has to do with crude oil. So we are trying to do with refined petroleum products. We are trying to look at issue of CNG is gaining momentum, but we are not there yet. So you look at transportation, you look at food. This same report that the MBS released, I think 2 days ago, about inflation. So while people are celebrating inflation has reduced from 15.15% to 15.10% to 15.06%. If you look critically at that same report, the report also says that food inflation in January 2026 was 8.89%. But food inflation in February 2026 was 12.12%. So people look at inflation, so you need to break it down into components. So that same report that overall inflation has eased a little also confirms that food inflation has increased from 8.89 to 12.12. So the key thing is things that have no alternative, substitute, everybody must eat. So whether you now say you want to do 101 or 001 or 001, but you must put something in your mouth once a day. That's basic. Now, after admitting that we must eat, even if you are fasting, you have to break within 24 hours. So after admitting that, you now look at what are the basic and the cheapest food. Now, you look at cassava flakes, you look at maize, you look at palm oil, you look at vegetable oil, you look at pepper, you look at vegetable. So if these prices are increasing, it has a negative impact on your disposable income if you are a fixed income earner, because as the price is increasing, if there is no commensurate increase in the level of your income and you don't have extra or additional income, you might be affected negatively. So the option in that line is either to cut down or reduce your avoidable expenses, the current available expenses, or you expand your revenue potential opportunities. And in doing that, look at the price of in the last 2 weeks, we used to buy fuel about 800, 900. But now I think I bought 2 days ago, I think about 1,200 and so on. So the implication, that one alone has far reaching implication, because if there's one thing we call farm to market. So if people are trying to bring down their cost now. So if you farm, it's okay, what's the cost of bringing it from my farm maybe to any part of market in the city? You add that cost to it, and that's the cost people are buying. So that's how it affects our. So I think basically as an individual, as a government, as a corporate entity, we have a role to play. Role to play, for example, for government, I would say that it is look at what is actually within your control first. So, and that's why some people say it's easy for government to focus on civil servants instead of looking at the overall citizen of the state. I say yes, but the civil servant is a very, what we call low-hanging fruit. Is within their control. So the first thing is that if you earn wages and you have a vehicle, you do not need to go out when you can stay at home and work. So imagine government says that, okay, because we understand that based on the projects we are doing in Ogun State, it might be a bit difficult to increase your wages or salary, for example, but we are working with the relevant agency of government to say that, okay, can we make physical work to be 3 days, temporarily, for example, but that 2 days does not mean you are not working, it only means you are working from home. So can the government, all government offices and facilities have data, for example, and we just need to be innovative and come up with the idea to ease the pressure. I learned recently that the federal government has directed that they should distribute rice for this period. So I think we just need to, because the price, definitely once there is fuel increase, people will argue that everything goes up. So for example, let's talk of housing. So will you now blame a landlord that wants to increase rent? So So because we are also hearing that the price of cement is likely to go up. So if price of cement goes up, the iron rod goes up, and all that. So some people that are into business, they have a way of increasing their prices to their customers. But if you are in a fixed income category, it is a struggle to convince your employer to increase your pay, and you still need to. So it adds a lot of it. So before you know it now, private school now will start saying they want to increase fee and all that. So I think governments need to sit down and look at all the issues holistically and see how they can ease the burden of average Nigerians.
Before my colleague will ask you, still on this line, I want to ask, we've talked about some of courses and some of, especially as it concerns petrol. Now, what role does multiple taxation? Because I know that to a certain extent, sometimes farmers, people bringing commodities from far from the north will always have one complaint or the other. So what role does this also play in adding to inflation when you talk about multiple taxation? Because you mentioned the issue of farm to market, that's what I'm asking. And also foreign exchange, when we talk about petrol and what we are very dependent on. Differently now, foreign exchange, the role, how it adds to this, and also the issue of multiple taxation.
Okay, thank you very much for that. In fact, you've asked two very important and very sensitive questions. So I will tell you one. Let me discuss the issue of multiple taxation. There is no way a multiple taxation will not affect the price of goods and services, whether you call it food or anything, because ultimately most of the tax will be paid by corporate entities, and they find a way to use it to adjust their price and all that. But however, the new Tax Reform Act, one of the things that law focuses on is to reduce, if not eliminate, multiple taxation. Now, most of the things we call taxation, so maybe I will call it levy or call it tariff. When you say taxation, it has some features. It is compulsory, one. That must be backed by law. There must be either a state house of assembly or national assembly that passed the law and assented to by the governor or the president, as the case may be. However, if the angle you are considering is maybe this roadside, the people that disturb, that collect, some people have argued that before you bring something from Ijebu, for example, to Abeokuta, you see road blocks. Recently, I went to a park to enter public transport to a place within Ogun State. So we met, and this is just a journey of 40 minutes. We met 2 or 3 law enforcement agencies. I think they have an agreement. I was trying to interrogate the driver. They have an agreement. You just come down, you give them something. We have the people in charge of the road and all that. Now, those things were, the driver was telling that they were a factor in the price at which all of us pay. So the key issue is, one of the things the government has done through the tax is to reduce multiple taxes. So what does that mean? Apart from the new tax law, the presidential committee in charge of that tax has also drafted a lot of bills for all states to adopt, so that you can see that most of the states have outlawed this issue of cash collection on the road. So we are hoping to see practical implementation in Ogun State too. I'm not sure the Ogun State has passed that similar law, but I know quite a number of states, maybe 8 to 9 have passed. So in terms of that, we must make sure that we have a predictable taxes to pay, and we must try to eliminate what we call non-state actors collecting taxes on behalf of government. So tax must be certain, must be predictable, amount to be paid must be known and clear, who to pay must be known, when to pay must be known, and how to pay must be. So therefore, I think that we need to try to eliminate multiple. And one of the things we are doing to do that is that, unlike before now, I think what the government is doing is, for example, if I live and work in Lagos State and I want to do something in Ogun State will still tax me. So that's why they are trying to harmonize the issue of tax ID, so that each individual has single tax ID. And if you can provide that, you pay your tax regardless of any state, the other state can afford you the opportunity. Then the second question talks about
foreign exchange.
Foreign exchange. So people have argued that we have stability in foreign exchange markets. In terms, that means you can predict. So I also agree that before you talk about growth, you need to start talking about stability. Now there are some certain things that is fueling certain the exchange rate. Now, apart from issue of one of the largest how will I put it now? The largest sector that paying our foreign exchange is the oil and gas sector. And those are the the issue of the previous or past rivalry between the Dangote and the NNPC has not ebbed, because we still have some importers preferring to import than patronize the local refinery and all that. So I think they are trying to fix all those problems. But while that continues, I will say that culture also matters. We need to start having positive and good culture. We still have we've had instances where people that do not have business holding foreign exchange still go and convert naira and keep. So we need to, and even the CBN Act of 2007 makes prohibits you from using foreign currency to settle domestic obligations. So if you need, the stability has grown to the point that if you need foreign exchange, you can approach any bank. The rates are not much, the disparity between the official market and the black market are not that wide as it used to be. So I will say that if your economy, if your expenses is in naira and you are not traveling out, you are not importing from abroad, you don't have children that you are paying tuition fee in foreign exchange, you are not doing medical abroad, if everything about you is naira, then focus on, because most time what we see is that it is a factor of demand and supply. If you keep ordering, but because it shows that you don't have reason to use foreign currency and you keep ordering it shows that you are gradually not having faith in our local currency. So we need to also appeal to our middle and HNI as citizens in this regard.
Now let us take a look at what many economists have also argued, and I don't know whether you share that sentiment. Really, many of them say that the medicine that is being used to treat inflation over time, and they call the medicine interest rate, that is actually making it harder for the economy really to grow. I don't know whether you share that sentiment.
And so it depends. So okay, so let me put it this way. So when the economy say the medicine of using to curb inflation is interest rate, so maybe I will say maybe it's one of the medicine. Then you see a lot, like I said, there are lots of factors that affect inflation rate. Our behavior, our attitude, our culture. So there are some, and we blame government for everything. Now we also have a culture of, okay, imagine on May 29, 2023, when the president says subsidy is gone, you will notice that in less than 1 hour, while the speech was still going on, all Philippines short.
Yes,
so how do you blame the president of the country for that? So most time, let's look inward and blame ourselves, our culture, our attitude. So you see people that are small and medium enterprises that have bought prices at certain rates, but because they have privileged information that next few things will go up, and they start selling that old price at with an assumption that they bought it at the new price. So interest rate is a very important factor in inflation, there is no doubt. And that's why if you are an investor, if you are doing any form of maybe fixed return interest, maybe what we call money market instruments, if any return they are giving you is not higher than the inflation rate of your country, they believe that is not a real return. We call it nominal return. So currently now inflation rate is a little above 15%. If you are doing any investor and they are giving you 14%, just know that is not, because people will even argue that the current inflation rate is conservative. Some Nigerians will tell you that they believe that inflation rate is more than 30%. Some will tell you that it's more than 35%. And that's why I said that it's based on individual peculiarities, from what you consume, to what you eat, to what you live, to what you wear. So I believe that we should tackle the issue of inflation from all fronts and from all sources. So when you talk about inflation, you don't look at monetary policy alone, because interest rate is the monetary policy of CBN. So we have what we call monetary policy committee of CBN that meets at least once in a quarter. They are the ones that fix and determine interest rate. So when you say MPC rate, it means the rate at which the CBN lends to banks. So I think currently it's about 26.5%. I think it was reduced from 27 to 26.5% per rate. So if a bank needs money from CBN and CBN lends that money to bank at 26.5 or so how much do you expect the bank to lend it to their own customer that needs the loan to borrow? So definitely if interest rate is high, it has a way of also affecting inflation. But I'm saying that let's look at it from both monetary and fiscal policy. Let's look at our budget. Let's look at our quality of spending. You understand? Let's look at our revenue generation.
Quality of spending as a nation or as an individual?
Quality of spending as a nation. Because you see, the issue is that this government has done so well in optimizing revenue, in revenue generation. But Nigeria believes that a lot needs to be done on how they spend and utilize their revenue. And there's also a question of transparency and accountability.
Do you also share that?
Yes, I share their view. Absolutely. We are not saying they are not doing, they are trying their best, but we think there are a lot of leakages in the system that needs to be blocked. So there are a lot of things that with technology you could have automate the system and prevent leakages and reduce human interference that they have not been doing. You see, when we are Nigerians, when we hear reports of billion, trillion being spent, look at how much spent on refinery, nothing. You look at billion being used to religious pilgrimage and another. When the Constitution says there is no state religion, there is freedom of religion. So you look at budget allocation that is going to health, that is going to power, that compared to the cost of running government. You look at the entry. You see, the thing is, Nigeria is not such a way that we are used to a certain way of living. So most of us have believed that that's the norm. So government needs to cut down completely, and we need to start telling our political leaders that look, the interest is to serve. And when we say the interest is to serve, is not to prioritize your personal comfort. It's a privilege, whether you are governor or president, it's a privilege that they put the destiny of millions of Nigerians to your hands. So that honor alone, you should focus on legacy. Beyond doing road and all that, I mean the welfare. So when people say that the Constitution says the security and welfare shall be the primary purpose of government, so that suggests that there is secondary purpose. So if they say, and look at the wording of the Constitution, they say security and welfare. Look at the sequence. So which means that you need to be secure, you need to be alive for you to talk about welfare. So if you look at Nigeria is not a war. If you look at the number of, from the data we are reading, if you look at thousands of lives that have been lost, avoidably so, and and I think that they are trying their best, but we must see that because if you are doing your best and the people you are serving things are getting worse, then we need to interrogate what you are doing. Maybe you need to change the methodology or dynamics or how you are doing it.
No, but we get to hear the government say that foreign reserves have actually.
And so that's actually true and a fact that foreign reserve has gone up. But the issue
is not a sign that the economy is bouncing back or is doing well.
Okay, so two things. When you talk about economy, let's break it down. Anything economy, you have your own personal economy, for example. If you generate revenue and you also spend money, it's also personal economy. I can say, okay, how much do you earn? How much do you spend? Do you have? So now, currently, do we have the top? We have the. Look at last time we were running 2 or 3 budgets concurrently. So look at when during the last budget defense when some key ministry that education says that they only get little amount of their capital expenditure being released. So the worrying thing is we do not always have issue about recurrence. You will see, and what are all these personnel cost of copy must get paid. If you look at overhead cost of running government, you want to buy paper, traveling abroad, all those lines are fully utilized. It is the thing that affects. Look at power. Look at the richest man in Africa has said that there cannot be meaningful development without affordable, sustainable energy in the country. So when they say foreign exchange as well, is true, it has result is good, but it's also true that more people are dying. So you see, it's not as if government is, what the government says, we are not saying government is lying, but they are not balancing what we are saying. Because you see, there's, if you say,
what do you think they are not doing? I mean, that will make the foreign reserve that is going up, you know, have effect on the macro economy. Okay, so now, when your foreign exchange reserve is going up, that means you can defend your currency, one. It also means that you can settle your foreign exchange obligation. Look at the airline operators before that, that was an immense body, which is good. There are a lot of things this government is doing that is doing very well, that is very commendable. Do you understand? But the key issue is let's prioritize security first. And you see, the government should also show empathy, and they should communicate correctly. Where they have done, where they should be bold enough to tell the truth to the Nigerians, to say, in this area we know we have issues here, we have not done, this is what we are doing to. But they should stop passing or giving information of areas of their strength alone, so that it not look as if it's citizens that is bringing out their weakness. You hear what happened, was it yesterday or 2 days ago in Maiduguri? Yes, you understand. So if we have a data to say that, okay, from January to date, do you have a data on the number of people that the bandits, terrorists have killed, that have lost their life? Are you aware some parts of this country people are paying taxes to bandits? So how are we addressing that? So how does foreign exchange going up affect people that are being killed? I watched a video recently when they bandits shot people and say, if you don't pay 55 million or something. So how do you preach foreign exchange reserve to that person? So we need to we should try to have empathy. Now, before my colleague comes in, so I mean, some of these things that you have said, I mean, many people have argued this. They've said, yes, it is true that, I mean, there is no correlation, and that has now made them to say that some of these claims that the government is making about improvement and the rest of them in foreign reserves and others, it is cosmetic. Even the naira coming down, I mean, gaining strength against, that is cosmetic. That is not really. It is not really solid. I mean, no, I will not say it's cosmetic. You see, the truth. Let me tell you what people do. And thank God you are media experts. There is power in nomenclature. The name you call something matters. Now, it is factual that foreign exchange has gone up. Nobody can doubt that. That is not cosmetic. It is also factual that inflation is going down. Though some people may argue, correctly though, that it is due to rebasing from 2009 to 2024. But some people can also argue that before you came to power, what was the price of a liter of petrol? What was it now? And if you are asking that already, they also tell you that the former president has only made provision for budget up to 30 June. So some people can also argue that when you came into power, why they were just carelessly defending the previous government was just doing a kind of currency arbitrage, which is not sustainable anyway. What was the exchange rate and what was it now? So it's not cosmetic. When you say all these things, people say it's cosmetic. Why people are saying that is because it's not affecting their life individually, which is also factual. So the issue here is that government are focusing more on macroeconomics, interest rate, foreign exchange reserve, unemployment, and all that. They need to come down because there is no federal citizen.
all citizens belong to one local government in Nigeria. So federal government has no citizens. It is the local government that has citizens. So, and in fairness to the government, we need to also now start paying attention to state and local government. Because fine, when you look at our FAC allocation, the federal government get our 52.6%, the remaining is shared between state and local government. So look at the idea of state too. So we need to start asking questions, what are this, how have you spent this money? What was your total wage bill for civil servants? What was your overhead? How much have you spent on capital? So the issue of capital expenditure, are you spending on capital expenditure that directly affect the lives of the citizens, that makes their life better? Okay, let me give you an example. During the last constitutional amendment, they've taken 3 items from exclusive legislative list to concurrent, which is prison services, railway, and the third, I've forgotten the third now. So, you know, people have said that the problem is devolution of power, federal government, electricity, God bless you, the third one. So, how many states have done railway institutes? They have done it. So does that not suggest that even if they bring more power to states, some states that will not do it? Because it is only Lagos that have done blue line, red line, and all that. So now prison is under concurrent. How many states have built additional prison? So we need to start, because it's not, I think recently the president was saying that the way you are holding into account also hold your government and local government. So state government and local government. So when you collect money as a city, as a governor, because you are elected to represent the people, let them know how you are spending. Another thing I also say is that the government should not think that because they are elected, they know the solution to all citizen problems. Location, central district, go and meet them and ask them which project would they prefer. You can't know the people in the community more than them. So there are some projects that is capital intensive that if you do other projects that you spend less, it will have more impact on what you are doing. So imagine we have rail in Ogun State and connect from Ijebu to Abeokuta to Yewa to Shagam, and they run like 3 or 4, 5 shuttles per day. Gradually you start seeing people work, they will not pay out rent in Lagos again. If they have 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock, and you can get to, do you understand what I'm saying? So those are the things we need to start talking about. Because like I said, revenue is increasing. I've seen the Senate president saying that the governors are enjoying, I wish this the time I was a governor. But if you earn billions, if you earn trillions, spend it well to reduce poverty, to reduce unemployment. And the highest employer of labor is private sector. So most of the time, people are saying that private sector, anything private sector does, it appears that there is more efficiency compared to government. So any critical and sensitive aspect of our country, I would suggest they put it to private sector while the government regulates. So that's just the model I will recommend.
All right, let me take you back before I asked this question about demand. Let me take you back to the issue of petrol. Now, you mentioned the other time that oil marketers, some are still importing, while there's been that, discord between the Dangote refinery and the importers. Their claim is that they want to discourage monopoly. Do you also believe that at a critical period when we want to reduce that are dependent on foreign importation and stuff, at this critical period, I understand that we have people, some companies have been given license to also build refinery, but is the claim of the oil marketer, is it genuine?
Yes, personally, from my own personal opinion, I also do not like monopoly of essential commodities. I will not support monopoly. But however, I agree with the petroleum importer that they want to discourage monopoly. But how they are going about it is what I do not think is the best way to go. So how about having a modular refinery? How about if you cannot operate and make a refinery functional, how about if you want to privatize it, but through a competitive and transparent process, such that only the best will emerge, not the kind of privatization we did during the energy sector. So how about having many other Nigeria investing and having a refinery? So at the time, NNPC instead of giving Dangote refinery crude oil, they are still not giving, they are still going out to refine before. I think that's been resolved now. So you see, I totally agree that monopoly is one of the issues that will make an individual to become a government. So, okay, look at banking sector. If bank A do not serve you well, you go to bank B. If bank B do not serve you, you go to bank C. Look at telecom. Yeah. I think we have 3 or 4 of them. And that's the major reason. In my own view, the key thing, for example, when you talk of defense, government must handle defense. When you talk about currency, banking, government must handle currency. So most of the things, most of the developed countries that we are trying to copy, most of the things our own government are doing is being done by private sector over there. Like some of Canada, US, and all that. Let government, because it's not as if government cannot do business very well, but we have not seen them doing it very well. You know, they are over time. So there's opacity, inefficiency, and all that. And they are not imbibing technology at its fullest, the way private sector will do. So in answering your question, I do not support monopoly. I want to see more of Dangote refinery in another form, so that we can compare prices. Because you can see how Dangote has affected prices where it will reduce price and NNPC will follow suit. So imagine they have like 4 or 5 people in that category. Do you understand? So I think that the petroleum importers should sit down and look at strategies and not demarket the Dangote refinery. If there are issues of course you can't blame them for importing. The only thing government can do, if government wants to discourage imports, is to increase the import tariff. Yeah.
Okay, well, the beauty of any business is, you know, the demand that comes in, and you discover that in Nigeria, when you have demand for something and it keeps increasing, there's every possibility that the price will skyrocket. We've had it in a lot of sectors. You mentioned the issue of cement, and you discover that some of the resources used are even got generated from here. I'm talking about the natural resources, and you always have that when you talk about solar. So you will always, though there will always be claims that there are importation and stuff like this. But my question is, do we at this critical point government need to regulate some of these things, because you discover that things that are not so expensive before, and the moment there are demands, you just discover that the price is no more what it used to be, and there is nobody regulating, and so everybody just wants to call it the price that they like, and the common man on the street keeps struggling. Maybe that is where it falls back to, and suddenly demand drive comes and the price rises, that he has to possibly look for another thing to buy. A lot of things to look at. Before now, before now they will tell you that okay, you don't really have much to buy beef, fish, and some people are now buying what we call the cow skin, pomo, and stuff like that. And that is just the list of example I can give. Do we need the government to regulate, because prices of some goods, when you look at how we make it happen here, and the demand will just, the price will just go up, and you ask yourself, what's the problem? Why?
Okay, so in terms of price regulation, it depends. It depends on the sector and area you are looking at. I will say that, look at telecommunication, for example, is regulated by NCC, right? CBN regulates bank charges. So what CBN does is to say, this is the maximum amount you can charge. telecom so that you don't just charge. Imagine there's no regulation and they want to be charging arbitrarily for data, for airtime and all that. But lastly, some of these issues you have mentioned have to do with throw it open, let the forces of demand and supply determine it. And it also has positive impact on unemployment. Make it attractive for people to be interested to come to the market, because over 200 million people, that's a large market. So I will not support regulating fuel price, for example. Instead, if we have more refineries and all of them are even producing more than our local capacity, domestic consumption, they will be forced to drop prices. You are saying now that when we started telecommunication, you know how much they were buying SIM and other. When they are so it's just natural that we throw it open, and that will create employment. So if it is some critical and essential service like telecom, like banking, imagine if they do not regulate banking, the charges will have been. So, but when we talk about petrol or some other essential services, let the forces of demand and supply determine that, and let us encourage healthy competition. The more, the merrier. If many people are in that sector, you will know that you can't increase price anyhow. The major issue is the government must be deliberate about policy and strategy to ensure that we are not promoting monopoly. So let's have more people, and on our abandon, I don't want to call it abandon, on our asset that is not generating revenue, that we have spent billion or trillion. Recently, I had the House of Representatives saying they want to investigate 210 trillion spend on one. So if you have asset that you keep on spending and it's not yielding anything, let's look at NNPC. Let's look at how we can turn our moribund asset into a productive and functional asset that can serve the interest of everyone. So, and the same thing goes to state. We can turn our land to assets. They need to practically do what we call PPP. Public-private partnership is one of the strategies Lagos is using to achieve a lot they are achieving, where you value your land and people come and build the hospital and you regulate some certain things, and you can use your land, value your land, and use it as equity contribution. So there are a lot of things that the government should start looking at, because it's not as if the government is not doing anything. The issue is the impact. So if government now bring out a policy, let's say Ogun State, they bring out a policy and it affects like 5-10 private sector, and they're able to employ, let's say 2,000 employment. 2,000 people are gainfully employed. You know they've done something, but you will feel the impact compared to the size of unemployed in Ogun State. So the numbers also matter. It's not as if you are not doing, but if it is not enough or it's not adequate, the impact will not be there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adefisore, for your time with us this morning. Of course, he is a chartered accountant and a public affairs journalist. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's my pleasure coming here.
Thank you so much for watching the program. By God's grace, we'll be back again some other time. Enjoy the rest of your day.